Welcome back to Boyd Book Club. Wrapping up semester 2 today, focusing on the final aspect of orientation, analysis, and synthesis. I think we're best served by looking at orientation and the OODA loop in general in the way Hammond describes it in The Mind of War, and asking ourselves if we are going to look at it as a process or an edifice. That's what we're going to focus on today. Let's start by discussing what we mean by edifice. We can mean a big imposing building like the high rises of Manhattan or like the Sistine Chapel, right? But we can also mean systems and structures of thinking like capitalism or religion. When we're talking about an edifice, we are talking about things that are fixed, things that are unchanging. And when we talk about fixed, unchanging systems, fixed, unchanging buildings, fixed, unchanging ideals, what we are talking about are things that are dead. And when I say dead, I mean they are not evolving. All of life is a constant process of evolution and adaptation. Things that are alive have motion and change occurring in them. The moment we start talking about something as fixed or unchanging, we are talking about a rigid system, a dead system. And when we talk about the OODA loop, when we talk about Boyd's ideas, we want to come back to the fact that Boyd did not want his ideas to be viewed as fixed or unchanging. He wanted them to be viewed as a living system. And as we apply the OODA loop in our own lives, as we use it as a tool, we need to remember to look at not only our own process of analysis and synthesis, but also the OODA loop itself as a living system. We need to question whether or not we are making it an edifice. In contrast, process is a living thing. It's organic. It undergoes change and over time adaptation and evolution to suit its environment. On the left, we have the M.C. Escher print Relativity with its sort of mind-bending process of movement involved, where on any given plane, one's perspective is shifting to understand the space in a new light. Even as a two-dimensional picture, as a piece of artwork, relativity is in many ways an evolving thing. Our very way of perceiving it evolves as we trace it from different ways, looking at the shadows, looking at the ascending and descending staircases, the various angles of the forms walking up and down those staircases. Each time I look at this print, I see something new in it. In that way, it is an evolving, organic, living thing. We can look at the Hegelian dialectic in the same way. To the right there, we see this sort of conceptual spiral, so to speak, of Hegelian dialectic. We begin with a thesis. We unfold an antithesis, which reveals a synthesis. That synthesis then becomes the thesis of the next phase, and we go through this evolving process of thesis, antithesis, synthesis, antithesis, synthesis, antithesis, synthesis, with each previous synthesis being a new thesis, a new statement from which to work. Process, as Boyd describes it, referencing back to the essence of winning and losing in slide 3 there, he describes the OODA loop as, quote, an ongoing, many-sided, implicit cross-referencing process of projection, empathy, correlation, and rejection. He is describing a dialectic engine, as we've talked about in the past, and that process is an organic one. It is an ongoing one. So if we think about the OODA loop, if we think about Boyd's thinking, if we think about all that we have come to understand about these things thus far, we need to recognize that an edifice serves to concretize, any idea, any concept, any framework. It makes it fixed. Process, on the other hand, allows us to deconstruct, to examine, and reassemble in novel ways not only the information that we are taking in, but the very way in which we are taking it in. Process, therefore, is this ongoing dialectic of thesis, antithesis, and synthesis that we see in the Hegelian dialectic. I want to take a second here. I come back to Hegel time and time again, and I want to take a second here and point out that there are many criticisms of Hegel's dialectic. Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy piece that we read includes many of those criticisms. There is a really good book by Leonard Wheat, Hegel's Undiscovered Thesis, Antithesis, Synthesis. And I think it's worth your time if you're truly interested in the Hegelian thought and how many students of Hegel over the years have missed what was sitting right there, ready to be understood in the Hegelian thinking. Coming back to Hammond then, we are going to state the obvious. He states the obvious, and I'm going to echo it. Boyd's ideas are only useful as process. The OODA loop as a model and Boyd's ideas in general become utterly useless if they become a reified edifice, because they cease to be tools. They cease to be functional for us. I like to think of the OODA loop as a shovel. It's meant to be used. It's not the shovel of a groundbreaking ceremony, though. It's the shovel of a worker. It's a tool we use to destroy so that we can then go forth and create, right? We take a look at Hammond's quote here from The Mind at War. Quote, "The test of success and the real advantage in the method comes not in reading about it, but rather in employing it. Like both muscles and neural networks, Boyd's way must be exercised, or it will shrivel and atrophy." Chet Richards quotes Boyd as saying in his briefings that if we're going to regard this stuff as dogma, meaning his ideas, you'd be better served to take it out and burn it. Boyd didn't want his thinking to be viewed as dogma. He doesn't want us to view his thinking as dogma. He wanted us to see the OODA loop as a process, and it is one that we contribute to in its use. This is a quick video. It is a quick summation of what we've covered thus far, because ultimately we've covered a lot of ground in this second semester. We focused on the centrality of orientation, to the OODA loop in particular, but also I think how orientation is central to all of Boyd's project, all of his worldview. The abstract of destruction and creation says all that we need to remember about process. Quote, "To comprehend and cope with our environment, we develop mental patterns or concepts of meaning. The purpose of this paper is to sketch out how we destroy and create these patterns, to permit us both to shape and be shaped by a changing environment. In this sense, the discussion also literally shows why we cannot avoid this kind of activity if we intend to survive on our own terms. The activity is dialectic in nature, generating both disorder and order that emerges as a changing and expanding universe of mental concepts matched to a changing and expanding universe of observed reality." It's important that we always regard what we are learning and observing about Boyd's methods, his way, and the use of the OODA loop as an exploration. It's about coming to understand the enormity of the process contained in the 4 elegant sentences from the abstract of destruction and creation. That's it for semester 2. We've covered a lot of ground, and I really appreciate all of you who have participated along the way. Thank you to the patrons for making these videos possible. Please like, share, and subscribe to not only the Boyd Book Club content, but the rest of the Adult Academy and Fire Service Warrior Project. Visit adultacademy.org, visit No Filter Fitness, visit Fire Service Warrior, see what we're doing, see what we're up to. If you're unable to support us through Patreon with an ongoing monthly contribution, please think about stopping by the store and buying a t-shirt, buying a book, grabbing a download. Each and every single one of those things allows us to expand the things that we're doing with this project and bring even better content to you. As always, thank you for taking time out of your day to spend with me thinking about these ideas. I'll see you soon. Cheers.